Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for your patience. We are about 14 minutes behind time. Whilst we've just been sorting some tech issues around the speaker and the microphone here in our venue. We know that people who are joining us online might struggle to hear us, so we will do everything we can to speak loud and clear in the room as we go through a lot that we've got to cover this morning. I will still aim to try and keep us as fictitious as possible. Is that a word? Yeah. Okay. It is now. It is a word now. Yeah, thank you. And try and ensure that we can get finished by 12 o'clock, because I know everyone's very busy with many other things. So first of all, can I welcome board members who are with us. We are still expecting Councillor Lamb and Councillor Goff, who are on their way to us at the moment. Could we start, please, just by asking for introductions from each board member? And I know we've got a couple of introductions of virtual attendees. So, Councillor Edwards, can I start with you?
Yes, so I'm the portfolio holder for economic and social regeneration and investment at Medway Council. And just a note, one round of the statement of standing.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Abby Care, Director of Enterprise Contribution to the University
Morning, I'm Councillor Andrew Jeffrey, Leader of SELEP.
Morning, I'm Michael Newman, Head of Finance at the Town Council, representing the Section 151 Council Law.
Morning, I'm Helen Dyer, I'm Capital Programme Manager at SELEP.
Simon Cook, the Chair of the Accountability Board today.
Helen Russell, the Chief Executive Officer at SELEP.
Lee Scott, Cabinet Member for Planning and Growing Economy at the County Council.
Councillor Keith Bird, your Leader of the County Council.
And virtually, I believe, Beth. Beth, you're on mute.
Oh, apologies. It's Stephanie Innes from Essex County Council. I'm a solicitor.
Fantastic, thanks, Beth. That's just a good test if it works from that end for us in the room. So thank you. If you could, as usual, just raise your hand, and I'll, if you want to ask any questions or come into any comments, and I'll make sure I can bring you in. And when we're voting on any of the recommendations, you could also just make sure you're clear so that I know who has made their vote clear to me. Members of the public can join the meeting, and we've got officers listening in to the discussion. I know that may be a bit disruptive for some of you, but we're going to continue here in the room at the moment. And we will have a recording of the meeting available via the SELEP website after the meeting concludes. For those attending virtually, normal rules, please don't use the chat function. Because of what we've done at this end, just be aware that we have got a screen up that might mean that if you're communicating with SELEP officers, we might see your chat function come up in Microsoft Teams. So just think before you put anything in there, we might be able to see it at the moment. There is one confidential appendix attached to one of the GBS funding decisions report, item 10, but the information within the appendix is not material to the decisions being taken, so it's intended that that particular report will be discussed publicly. Helen, would you like to confirm our apologies, please?
Yes, so there's no apologies from Councillor Cox, who will be substituted by Councillor Lamb, which is got stuff and traffic on the way. We've also had apologies from Councillor Bentley, who is substituted by Councillor Scott. I'm also advised that Councillor Goff is on his way to another meeting with additional.
Just double check, are we currently quorate?
We have 4 voting members and 6 members.
Okay, so that won't affect any votes. We are at that stage. No. Okay, great. Thank you. And I think that's everything, isn't it? So, can we just confirm the minutes of the last meeting, please? For those of you that were here, can we confirm the correct record? Thank you, thank you. Are there any declaration of interest by any members that need to be made today? Okay, thank you. We have public questions today, so we have 4 public questions. We've received 4 public questions. Everyone who's submitted public questions has requested that their questions are read out on their behalf, and so Helen Russell will read out the questions. The responses to questions 2 and 4 will be presented by East Sussex County Council, and Helen will provide an explanation as to why that approach has been taken and address an inaccuracy in question 2 before passing over to Councillor Glazier. So, Helen.
Thank you, Simon. So question 1 from Mr. Seymour. It says on the good governance meetings and minutes, agendas and pages of the SELEP website that the agenda and pages are published on the website 5 clear working days before the meeting. For the agenda of the 12th of January 2024, no pages were published for agenda items 7 to 13 in the scale. One of these items that on the Queensway Gateway Road was due to be reported on at the postponed November 2023 Accountability Board meeting. At the December Strategic Board, it said a paper on the repayment schedule of the loan on Sovereign Harbour, which has, would be published for the 12th of January 2024 meeting. Neither have been published within the required timeframe of 5 clear days before the Accountability Board meeting. Why has the Accountability Board failed to publish the papers in the correct timeframe for this meeting, thereby negating the public's ability to review the papers and ask appropriate public questions based on the published papers? The response to this is that we work extremely hard to meet all required deadlines, but we are facing resource challenges across the SELEP team, across the accountable body and some partner authorities. It is a lengthy process for all the right reasons to ensure papers are finalised, and from a SELEP perspective, given that we are working towards closure, we are operating on a reduced capacity, so despite every effort, this is having some impact. In line with the late publication of the agenda pack, the deadline for submitting public questions was extended to ensure that the opportunity to submit questions by the public was not lost. Question 2 from Mr. Bernard Brown. The Civic House was developed using a loan from SELEP with additional loans from East Sussex County Council and Eastbourne Borough Council. The development was undertaken in 2015. Of the 4.6 million loans to SELEP, 3.575 million is outstanding and has been subject to previous repayment rescheduling. In 2023, Seachange Sussex defaulted on the repayment, and through an administrative error, East Sussex County Council technically defaulted. This was addressed by a retrospective rescheduling. It was stated that the building would be sold during the course of 2023. It has been marketed at 5 million and there has been no sale. Seachange Sussex and East Sussex County Council have said that this is due to adverse market conditions in the investment commercial property market. Yet in the same period, Seachange Sussex upwardly revalued its investment commercial property at £16.82 per square foot. This would have generated 806,460 over the last 2 years. Yet Seachange Sussex has made no further part repayments on the loan, making no attempt to honour their loan obligations. It is legitimate to ask why no payment has been made. The reasons may be the company is using the money for other projects, contrary to the terms of the loan under SELEP government rules, or the company does not have the financial resources to meet its loan obligations. Papers were not published in this matter in the timescale required for the Accountability Board meeting. In the absence of information, our loan repayments will be being withheld, or if Seachange Sussex unable to meet its financial obligations. What has happened to the 800,000 taken from this project? I will make a response on the point of clarification. So a revised repayment schedule for the Sovereign Harbour project was due to be considered by the Accountability Board at their meeting on the 10th of March 2023, prior to repayment becoming due. However, this board meeting was subsequently postponed to the 13th of April 2023, and therefore it wasn't possible for the decision on the revised schedule to be taken prior to repayment becoming due. In terms of the remaining response, the information required to respond to the rest of the question is held with East Sussex County Council, and therefore I'll hand over to Councillor Glazier to respond.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the question. The extension of repayment period of the loan into 23-24 was to enable Seachange Sussex to undertake the necessary marketing required to secure a sale of the building and consequently repay the outstanding Growing Papers Fund loan in full. As such, there were no other part repayments agreed upon or expected from Seachange throughout the year, and there is no mechanism in the loan agreement to request this outside of the agreement repayment schedule. which, as we know, is for fuel replacement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Question 3 from Mr. Neville Jones. The following are fully verifiable extracts from reports submitted to the Accountability Board on the Queensway Gateway project by East Sussex County Council since November 2020. Quote, a contractor has been appointed with work due to commence on site 27 November 2021. It's anticipated the work on the temporary connection will take 4 weeks. The expected programme for delivery of the signalised connection is 6 weeks with an additional 2 weeks contingency. It is currently estimated that the signalised connection will be constructed and complete by late November 2021, with the full route open to traffic at this point. This report sets out further delays to the signalised connection, with this now not being expected until early 2022. At the 16th of June 2023 meeting, the report said it had not been possible to provide a full update on this project. Despite the best efforts of the SELEP Capital Programme Manager to present an accurate picture to the board, there is absolutely no doubt that reports on this project submitted by East Sussex County Council since 2020 have proven to be incomplete and inaccurate and by default misleading. The reports from East Sussex County Council on this and other projects have not been used as a basis of decision making by this board. They have been the basis for answering questions from the public, resulting in inaccurate and misleading answers being provided. Despite the efforts of SELEP officers since 2019, East Sussex County Council has provided inadequate, inaccurate and misleading reports. As SELEP comes to a close, this board honourably apologise to the public for responses provided, which being based on these reports were inaccurate. The response we provided is it is the upper tier local authority's responsibility to provide information to the board. Where inaccuracies are raised, these are discussed with the relevant upper tier local authorities. The responsibility of the upper tier local authorities includes providing the most up-to-date position in respect of their project. As these are live projects, wherever we understand there may be some changes to updates over time, and these changes are then subsequently reported to the board at future meetings. Question 4 from C. Kane Sussex. It is reported at point 4.13 and 4.14 of item 8, Growing Safety Fund, Sovereign Harbour, that proposed revised repayment schedule that decisions have not been made in respect to repayment by East Sussex County Council, as they need evaluation which C. Kane Sussex have not provided the required detailed lease schedule to allow the production of. It was also reported in April 2023 and within the item 8 paper at point 4.11 that East Sussex County Council have been in receipt of this valuation since February 2023. Having provided the requested detailed lease schedules and copies of our lease templates to East Sussex County Council in November 2022, we would ask to do East Sussex County Council have the valuation as reported, and why is it being reported that the detailed tenancy schedules have not been provided by East Sussex? The information required to respond to this question is held by East Sussex County Council, and therefore I will hand over again to Councillor Davies to respond.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you for the question. East Sussex County Council have requested an update to the lease information from C. Kane Sussex. As the valuation undertaken in early 23 and the information supplied in November 22 by C. Kane Sussex is considered to be out of date following the agreed repayment plan approved by this board in April 23. So the property market has changed in the past year, and we cannot assume that all lease information remains the same. We've asked for but not been provided with the recent tenancy schedule, copies of all current leases, nor service charge information. This information that commonly has a bearing on the accuracy of any valuation. Nothing provided.
Okay, thank you. Those are the 4 public questions and 4 responses for those questions. We will move on to the next item on the agenda. So we have a couple of items that I'm going to ask colleagues to provide some sort of brevity in their summary first and foremost, so that we have got time to look at the detailed reports later that need lots of agreement and decision. So, Helen, can I ask you first to do the operations update, please, for us?
Okay, thanks, Simon. I'll focus just my verbal update, which is around transition, really, and risk. So as many members are aware, the final integration plan for SELEP was presented to and approved by the SELEP Strategic Board on the 8th of December 2023. The plan outlines key dependencies for a successful transition, and the three of those, if you like, are around confirmation from government on accountable body arrangements, clarification from government to local authorities regarding future functions and funding, and that all the required local authority formal decision making is concluded by the March SELEP Strategic Board meeting. The dependency around the guidance around future functions and funding of local authorities has subsequently been addressed in part by further guidance and funding allocation being received by government on the 19th of December 2023. However, we do still await publication of the amended assurance framework for non-devolved areas. In terms of risk and dependencies, most are associated with the timescale and capacity issues that we face. In terms of other decisions made in the December Strategic Board, directors endorsed the unallocated residual LEP budget that should be utilised for the continued delivery of LEP functions within upper tier authorities from April, including the redeployment of the SELEP team where appropriate. 9 roles have been identified and distributed across the local authorities, and whilst these roles do not fully align with the Secretariat and the take-up of subject consultation, we've been working to ensure that this process runs smoothly, and consultation will commence on Monday. The finance paper covers the allocation of unallocated residual funds, so I won't speak about that now. Just in terms of government, the government guidance received in the guidance that was received on 19th of December, that is included in the report, states that up to 240,000 will be available to functional economic areas in 2024-25, subject to the submission of approval of a business case, and this is the equivalent of core funding that will be available to those areas to run their functions. So just very quickly on risk, we've obviously provided risk register. Capacity within SELEP Secretariat remains a critical risk to integration, and whilst we are still retaining the same number of permanent staff that we were when the board last met in September, we have lost a fixed-term contract member of staff from the capital programme team, and having to be losing a member of the team from governance next month. However, we have also welcomed back a new from maternity leave. Therefore, before
no, thank you, Helen. Do board members have any questions or comments to make on the operations report? No, Councillor.
I have one question, I think, for
It's delightful that you've asked those questions. I'm just busily looking at my screen for the answers to some of those questions, which haven't come through yet. On the first point, I believe that HR are looking into all those aspects at the moment, and very shortly will come forward. Now, on the side of the government's clarity on this, no, I do not believe we received that clarity at this present stage, but I believe we are expecting it shortly. And as soon as it's received, will be shared. That's not really answering your questions, but I will get them answered in writing.
Thanks. Helen, would you like to add anything to that?
I believe you're correct, Councillor, that the decision around the comments has been made that isn't possible. My only understanding of that is that it presents the ongoing liability to ethics in relation to staffing that they feel that they can't undertake. But as Councillor Scott said, maybe more detail.
Okay, thank you.
I recognise that there is the qualifiers that are different than state Thinking about this quality representation, will there be a communications engagement plan published post March for organisations and key stakeholders to engage with?
We do have a communication plan that we're developing between SELEP and all the six here at local authority. We were talking about that yesterday, actually. We haven't put around publishing a plan as such, but what we're looking at is how we can utilise a legacy of the SELEP website to provide all of that information, signposting to business representatives, as well as a sort of scheduled plan for communication around how the transition will work and how to engage with us, the authorities, the stakeholders.
I think it would be quite important that there is probably sure and plan application so that people those companies know that people are.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on that question? Okay, so we've got 4 recommendations, all 4 to note specific aspects of the report. I won't take all 4 of them individually, but if I could just read all of them out. Note the update on the decisions taken by the strategic board for the transition of the LEP and the integration of its activities into local authority, noting the risk register at section 6 and appendix C, noting the update on the insurance framework compliance monitoring at section 7, and finally note the update on governance KPIs at appendix G. I would present to note those 4 things. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Item number 6, so the finance update. And I know we have 3 things to agree here, so Lorna, if you could be as efficient as possible in your presentation, that'd be great.
Thank you. I'll demonstrate the morning. Finance policy is up to date and revenue from the That's the impact of leaving an improved position for the overall operating reserve at the end of the year. This will help to meet any legal costs and risk the account of the body, and to enable funding to be released to the FT local department, support those documents going forward in the department, so it's local training as well. The decision on actual allocation of funds is what we made before. However, as the decision today, we expect to be completely for allocation of funds. The paper sets out recommendations that provide a per capita basis allocation of the consumer revenue funds to the operational reserve anticipated at the time of the left. A per capita approach is particularly with parity in the allocation of the first funding partners and the equivalent basis of the department are historically contributed funding to the rest. The report further recommends an approach is agreed with respect to the redundancy reserve that has been earmarked to meet any potential redundancy costs in the area. It's recommended that wages is not required to meet any redundancy costs in the transport body. Funding should be transferred to the partner authority that holds the financial liability for the period of 31st March 2025, with continued employment of members of the in the role to support delivery of that function and the transfer to a seventh partner authority. This approach has been recommended as it continues to provide funding for intended purpose and aligns with the endorsement by the strategic board to enable the retention of the current area across the partner authorities where possible. I set out in the report funding following agreement by the board in February and confirmation of the final position will be transferred to partners by legal agreements with the accountable body. The agreement is currently being drafted to ensure that funding can be transferred in a timely way once it's been signed by the respective parties. The agreement will also address any potential future liabilities for the County Council in respect of its role as the accountable body of SELEP following the disclosure of the LEP, plus any provided requirements in respect to the legacy capital programme. Internally, the final position with respect to any earmarked reserves not required to support any residual LEP activities, redundancy costs, or any outstanding risk of the accountable body, it's recommended that any uncommitted reserve balance will be appropriated to the operational reserve for distribution in accordance with the agreed approach of that reserve, which, as previously stated, is recommended to be allocated place them now, but obviously, if there's any questions.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board members? Councillor Edwards?
I think there's been some comments to what the last. So I just understand some reasons why they have to let it be coding, but I don't really anymore. I think it's
Thank you. Councillor?
Essex County Council, apologies, Councillor Edwards, are supportive of the recommendation of the
Councillor Glazier?
Likewise, and no disrespect to Councillor Edwards or her colleagues. The reason that we in East Sussex support that is actually because of the history of this, the way we've always worked collectively together, and sometimes it's never been actually that without what we can achieve the people of the South East. And so on that ground, I'm really happy to do it.
Thank you. I think.
If I could just mention my own offices can't hear us, so I'm able to necessarily send you a message.
Okay, we're a bit stuck with our text.
There's nothing we can do.
Yeah, so I think our board members are content with us continuing through. I think our options are fairly limited, but if we continue through, I think we're recording what we're talking about here in terms. I think we're okay. We're okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so going back to Councillor Edwards' comments, taking comments from Councillor Scott, Councillor Glazier, are there any other comments from anybody? And are there any other comments or questions regarding your woman's report, or we take the recommendation? Okay, thank you. So I'll take those recommendations separately and pick the report. So firstly, can we note the update on the forecast revenue outturn and reserves 23-24? Thank you. Can we agree the approach for allocating any residual balances in the operation reserve to the local authority department as set out in section 3.9.3 of the report, considering Councillor Edwards' comments?
I think you have to agree.
Yes, agree. Okay. Councillor Scott, would you have a comment on, do you agree?
Having just joined the meeting, I think I'm the effect probably abstaining.
Okay, right. So we've got 3 agreeing, and Lauren, your Councillor Edwards, sorry. Okay, thank you. The third one, agree the approach to allocating the redundancy reserve as set out in section 3.9.7.
Agree.
Thank you. And finally, agree that any uncommitted earmarked reserve at the end of 23-24 will be appropriated to the operational reserve, be allocated as agreed in section 2.1.2 of the report.
Agree.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Item number 7. So, Growing Places Fund Programme Update. Helen.
Thank you. So this report provides the usual update on the Growing Places Fund Programme, including an update on project delivery and risks which are impacting the programme.
Councillor Lamb.
Opposite, Chairman.
Okay,
Oh, that's horrendous, Chairman. Oh, 3 miles in and out.
Okay, we are in the middle, we're recording at the moment. Council Land Casino, but okay, we just pause until it's settled so that we can restart. We just started the Growing Places Fund update, item number 7. Okay, shall we carry on then? So Growing Places Fund update.
Okay, thank you. So, the report provides a usual update on the Growing Places Fund programme, including an update on project delivery and risks which are impacting the programme. The report provides an update on the Centre Department Engineering project and the specifically the payment schedule. Board appreciated in the side that South Essex College are facing a number of challenges which threaten their ability to detail the detail load in accordance with the agreed repayment. The report confirms that a number of these risks, including reclassification of the college, so it now sits in the public sector as a central government entity, and increasing utility costs, have been realised. Consequently, there is a significant risk that they will be unable to make payments against the CPF loan on March 26, as agreed by the board. Although it should be noted that there is an ongoing commitment to repay the loan. And so, as the first repayment isn't due until March 26, there is time for challenges to be addressed, and there are no actions proposed at the time. So, primarily, the report considers the Barnhall Green Commercial and Health Development Project, and whether it should remain within the GPS programme. As outlined at the last meeting, the project has been struggling with increasing costs due to rising inflation levels and general cost increases following the COVID-19 pandemic and Brexit. In addition, due to delays in progressing the project, it's been necessary to revisit the scope to ensure that the workplace delivered meets current demand. The need to revise the repayment schedule was also identified due to delayed delivery. Since the last meeting, additional information has been provided which seeks to confirm the status of the project and the changes which are being requested. This information is summarised in the report, but includes the change to the project scope, 2 options currently under consideration, a potential change to the forecast project benefits, an increase in total project cost if the full scope is to be delivered, an extension to the delivery programme, a change to GPS repayment mechanism and the repayment schedule. The project remains at early stage of delivery, which increases the level of uncertainty and risk. Procurement has not yet been undertaken, so the total project cost is unlikely to be confirmed. In light of the development of 2 options for procurement, it is also not possible to confirm either the project scope or expected benefits. It is not expected that procurement will complete until June 24 at the earliest. Therefore, it is understood that it will not be possible for any further clarity to be provided until the time. This presents a challenge in determining whether the project continues to offer high value for money. It should also be noted that the GPS funding was originally thought to help bring the project back into viability through the offer of reduced interest rates compared to those offered by the PWLB. At the time of funding, it is expected the GPS loan will be offered at an interest rate of 0%. Based on a PWLB interest rate of 1.6%. However, the PWB interest rate is now increased to approximately 4.5%, meaning interest would be chargeable on GPS loan at 2.5%. The need for a greater level of funding from PWLB for delivery and the increased interest rate on the GPS loan have the potential to impact the viability of the project, and it may be that the award of GPS funding is no longer sufficient to bring the project back to viability. In addition, given that the GPS loan is now expected to be repaid through PWLB borrowing, the benefit offered through the reduced interest rate offered on the GPS will be felt for a shorter period of time. It's possible that there may be other sources of funding available which have a lesser impact on the viability of the project. It should also be noted that the need for GPS as a funding source is less than the Royal District Council can access PWLB borrowing, and this funding will still be available once there is greater certainty regarding the ongoing viability. Given the impending dissolution of SELEP, it's not possible to allow the scheme to promote at any further time to progress the project to better inform a decision by the board with regard to the continued inclusion of the project. Therefore, in light of the concerns identified, and given it is not possible to give the board the level of assurance, it is recommended that the project be removed from the GPS programme.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Any comments or questions? Councillor Glavier?
Well, just to agree with the recommendation, needs to acknowledge that the recommendation is detailed in the report. with regard to the removal of the project, the programme. At September's board, it was agreed that Barnhall would have to submit a project update, change request and proposed revised repayment schedule by January's meeting. East Sussex supported RDC to submit the documentation. So Essex County Council and the accountable body who came to this decision is based on information that clarifies the position provided by RDC. We as a local authority will continue to work with Royal District to see what alternative funding there is available, but currently accept that it's not very.
Thanks, Councillor Glazier. Councillor Scott?
Yeah, likewise, we support the removal.
Any other comments or questions?
No, we're the same, Chairman, we do support.
Thanks, Councillor. Thank you. Okay, if there are no more comments and questions, then I can go straight to the recommendations then on this report for our agenda items. So we firstly have to note the updated position on all GTF programmes.
Thank you.
Secondly, we agree that the Barnhall Green Commercial and Health Development Project should be removed from the GTF programme.
Agree.
Thank you. And finally, note the update on the Centre for Advanced Engineering project and the risk to the agreed repayment schedule. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues. If we could then move into the next item, so item number 8. Helen, you're going to introduce this item. And I think there will be some adjustments to this item based on our decision.
There will be, yes, based on the decision just taken, the recommendations for the options will be placed, but I'll explain. So, this report sets out requests from East Sussex County Council for a revision to the Borough Electric Fund repayment schedule for the Sovereign Harbour. This report and the options contained within it were presented to strategic board in December, and they chose to refer the decision to this board to allow additional time for discussion between East Sussex County Council, SELEP and the accountable body. At this meeting, the only decision that the board asked to take is in relation to the proposed revised repayment for the Sovereign Harbour. However, given the intention solution SELEP, it is necessary to consider the impact of any extensions to the repayment schedule at this point in the context not only of the fund, but also the required decision to disaggregate funding in consideration of the approach agreed by strategic board in October, which sought to ensure an acceptable level of growth. The first is to give a quick overview of what has been proposed by the Sussex County Council in relation to the Sovereign Harbour. The project was awarded 4.6 million GPS in March 2014 and has to date repaid 1.025 million. The project has been subject to a number of previous repayment schedule changes, with the most recent considered by the board in April. The current repayment schedule requires full repayment of the remaining balance owed on the loan by 31st March this year. It was intended that the mechanism through which the final repayment would be made required either refinancing or the sale of the building delivered through the project. Refinancing was determined to not be a viable option, and therefore the sale of the building was reduced. Whilst efforts have been made to sell the building, East Sussex County Council has been advised by Sussex Delivery Organisation that it is unlikely that it will be possible to conclude an open market sale of the building by the 31st of March at a price which would be sufficient to pay off all outstanding debt. This is due to challenging market conditions which are affecting the UK property market. The terms of the loan agreement between East Sussex County Council and the County Sussex allows the transfer of the building to the Sussex County Council at market value minus the outstanding debt if full repayment is not made by the 31st of March. And this option and its implications are being explored by the Sussex County Council. There is a significant amount of information gathering and due diligence required to enable the transfer of the building, as well as additional work to establish future options for the building. Consequently, East Sussex County Council has submitted a request for revised repayment schedule, which delays the final repayment from 23-24, 25-26. So let's move on to the options. So the options and report have been informed by 3 key considerations which reflect the shared ambition of the strategic group. These considerations were the desire to achieve the greatest level of clarity on the foremost decision with segregation from GTF funding at the end of the The expectation of government and led activities will be dispersed fully to those authorities by the 31st of March, and we need to minimise the ongoing obligations of the accountable body post-March. The report, obviously, as we mentioned, references the outstanding decision on the Barnhall Green project, and as the board has just chosen to remove that project from the programme, that does mean there's only now 2 options available for consideration. because, effectively option 2 and option 1 become the same when you remove article 3 from the equation. So option 1 represents, the simplest scenario and allows the proposed advisory payment such as the sovereign heart project to be endorsed by the board with no additional conditions advising that the project is fully Sussex County Council's wider GPS programme. Adoption of this option would support the transfer of left activities to local authorities by the 31st of March and would minimise the ongoing obligations of the accounting body. In addition, this option provides the highest certainty of achieving the greatest level of parity possible by the 31st of March. Under option 1, balance owed for honest Sussex County Council GPS loans will be approximately 2.8 million above their per capita share of the total GPS pot. Therefore, in order to mitigate this, it would be necessary to proportionately reduce the level of funding issued to Sussex County Council, Medway Council, South End of East Council. And then to move on to option 3. Under this option, the proposed advisory to the payment figure will not be endorsed by the board. This would mean that there was an ongoing expectation of repayment by the 31st of March. It acknowledged that given that a request for advisory payment schedule has been submitted, there is a significant risk of the repayment not being made, resulting in the ongoing default. Failure to make the repayment would significantly impact on the level of funding available for this aggregation, although this would now be partially mitigated through the release of the 1.75 million, which has been ring-fenced for advancing the project. To further mitigate this, option 3 also proposes the retention of all SELEP funding, including any subsequent allocation of revenue funding to Sussex County Council until the repayment. Under this option, should the repayment be received by the 31st of March, this would allow the GPS funding to be disaggregated in quantity and the figures provided in table 1 of the report. This option is feasible, however, it does place the Sussex County Council in a position where there are high risk of default on the required repayment schedule. And in addition, the option is more complex and carries the greatest risk of non-resolution by the end of March. But I think I'm going to stop there, but just note there are comparison tables within the report which show the likely outcome of each of the options considered in the report. However, it is important to note that these things are all indicative and will be subject to a formal decision by the board at February.
Thanks, Alan. Questions or comments? Councillor Blake.
Chairman, I can speak at length to my third option, to this option 1, and I'm not sure how what I will say is this is not the issue, or had we not felt that the building was disposed of in that last year, we would have come to the board a year ago asking for an extension for the year. We would come to much longer money or some return. The bottom line is we're having that. I don't think that it's reasonable to expect still building below what people are just to find ourselves in this position. And if we do find ourselves in this position, I'm sorry, and the bit I should say is I expect that the parity is still not as good as you want it to be, but it's better than it was now that I'm gone. So I don't know how you want to deal with it, whether you want to deal with it in sections or whether you want to go on to about it, because actually we might be supported by unusual.
Well, I think, thank you for those comments. Let's take other questions and comments first and see where we go with it. Councillor Scott.
Yeah, I'm afraid that we are not willing to approve this. Our official stance on it.
Okay, thank you.
This is a agree, Councillor Scott, on the extend.
Yeah, we go along with that. It's unfortunate because we would like to see them take place as you know, with the start of the done it. But in fact, we can't agree. We're winding up on SELEP. And therefore, you know, we can't extend this by WC any further. We need to wind it up.
but I just think they might be very much the same as Councillor Edwards, particularly in terms of exploring then what you think. I think there's clearly a majority view anyway on one side. I think it's that understanding the implications of other options is important.
Okay. Helen, do you want to comment on any of those or?
Okay, so if the organisers are not through for the table, so the only option on the table currently is that it's not through, so then ultimately we're likely to get to the end of the month realistically, and that GTS repayment will not be made because the subject not to make it the request of the extension. So I think there's also a risk. Well, I think there's no other options available that will allow the GTS program to be wrapped up by the end of March. There are other options that the board has previously considered, strategic board has previously considered, which does allow for agreement to take place after the end of SELEP. However, that obviously adds additional legal and cost implications for the council body.
I think there's work through the detail. One of the issues would be the timing of the repayment. And one of the options we've also considered withholding any residual funding from any of our operational reserves as well, to help offset some of that as well. But I think the key thing there would be the sort of legal agreement between either each partner with each topic or whatever, which goes directly to say ethics as the current accountable body. So it's something that has to work through detail and then have to decision to the board.
Okay.
Oh, just on that, I mean, the point that you raised, there are two parts. Almost, that is the only one forward. We still can't understand the reference to withholding funds that have got nothing to do with it, just a matter of the left effectively penalising the subjects for non-payment of the money. It doesn't have any relevance whatsoever apart from the expenditure that is effectively moving forward. We'll end up probably losing some of the payment that is right. The second point is that it is unprecedented situation that we find ourselves in. We let the solution loom in 12 weeks, requiring us to pay 3 points. We don't know. I think we're just going down to budget setting phase where we're going to be borrowing or taking millions of pounds out of reserve that we don't have. So it's unrealistic to think we're going to sell and get that money back in to pay that. Going forward, I just wonder, there was a consultation earlier in
just that obviously this is for the historic situation and then back to the
So I guess where we're going then is that well, I get a sense that we are in agreement that we're not in a position to agree either of the two options yet. That's my first question, without more detail of the consequences of that decision.
Yeah, Chairman, I just want to read this. I appreciate what Keith is saying, concerning being in a position to pay that amount of money straight away. And certainly, I think most councils, especially local authorities rather than counties, would find it very difficult to get that sort of funding and repay in one hit. But I think if there is an undertaking that the money has to come back, but it's in a realistic way that it can be spread, I think we could accept that because we know the money's coming back and therefore it will come back in various chunks, which will make it more manageable in these sorts of days where funding is difficult for Sussex to be able to repay.
Chairman, if I may, let's go back to my point. I don't know. We know sitting here where each authority, what they would lose if we agree one. So we know what the consequences of approving 3 years. I don't know, Michael, and I don't think it's on the spot whether an agreement between us and one body to then allow that to stay out after the period of time, or whether it would be 5 agreements that, when money is available, we effectively give you an IOU and you'll get the money. So I think what I'm saying is we're not just agreeing with the aggregation to go ahead, but ultimately it's the mechanics of it.
Yeah, just to say that I think the first one we agree is that that option. But officers, with other officers, and unfortunately, we're saying at the moment that we have to be at a later date. Discuss how that proposal would affect and what suggestions are put forward. Yeah, I could understand because one of the things we don't want to do is to default. I'm sure no one. So it's areas and how we can aggregate that funding to go into the various other councils that may receive it, which has been taken from us others. If that can be done, I think that could be acceptable, but it needs to be worked on. I think we reported that next
Councillor, would you be content with that? Try and put the words in there just right. There's been a clear indication among 4 board members of their desire to refuse the proposal to continue. I think that's clear. Councillor Glazier has seen that clear. Our officer, the East Sussex County Council is here, so I think that's clear from the East Sussex County Council's perspective. However, what there is a desire to understand what the consequences of that decision actually in practical terms mean, and for us to scope through how that may well work to still achieve the parity that we want. And Councillor Glazier has offered opportunities to consider other ways for us to look at that. That will require a lot of detail to make sure that we're still following our code, whilst this money still stays the responsibility of SELEP for recognising the unique circumstance that we face going forward into it being transferred to our local authority. That's a lot of words, hopefully that explains where I think we are, which is fundamentally for there to be a fair bit of work between now and our next accountability board, which isn't that far away. I think it's 14th of February, 16th of February. So if we work through our deadlines and publishing papers, we already know that this board has been late. We've had late papers because of the stretch on both colleagues in our local authorities and colleagues in SELEP. So if we can endeavour, and I think Councillor Glazier has given that really strong indication that he and the team will endeavour to look at other alternatives from their perspective to achieve that parity, we can then look at that parity at the next board meeting in February. Yeah, does that sound about right?
Yeah, could I just comparison, obviously 12 weeks until this organisation goes,
we haven't got a long period of time. You know, if you come back February 12th, 14th, we haven't got agreement on, you know, the potential is that no one, Council Lounge said no one wants to see a default from it, far from it. So, you know, there needs to be work done before the 14th to make sure that the league agree to it. Yeah. So I'm not suggesting we just rub it down, but there needs to be agreement before the 14th of February. Otherwise, we run out of time and we run the risk of default. Yes. Councillor.
Well, I'm going to say something very similar. Firstly, I think, Chairman, your summary of it is very accurate as to where we are. But I think we all have to accept as board members, there's a responsibility on us to do actually some very detailed work on this outside the meeting, because otherwise we will find ourselves thinking another impact. So I think it's not anything that we formally decide here, but it is the fact that we all have got to commit to putting in the hours of responsibility. We will be working with our officers because we have to have a clear picture, otherwise, you know, these are such tricky and intractable issues that if we just try and address them on the day, we're not going to get there.
Absolutely. Great. And can I just ask that some understanding of the first sanction, which is prevented having any other funding, because I can't see that relative, if it was that you were going to try and retain 3.75 million out of this, which it won't ever be for all of us, you know, I can see the logic of that, but to just effectively fine us for being there. If I can just understand why that was put in.
Sorry, before I say anybody would like to answer that?
Just in that, just to respond to that, we just looked at the farm holistically. So that was just going, if you all, we wouldn't be getting additional funds if you're liable to actually make payments at that point.
Well, I think what we can do is, if that's a question that you still have, Councillor Calabria, let's wrap that into the detail that we look at between now and the February board, so that we can be really clear about consequence of the decision either way. Sorry, Councillor.
Yeah, I was going to say that approach does avoid detail. So that's why I think it's a relevant thing we should consider after you think the option.
And how does it stop the people? You actually stop it?
Well, it's no.
Councillor Calabria.
No, right.
Okay. Before we go any further, are there any more questions before we attempt to come?
We're not really using options put in paper. We're going to go away into other options. Obviously, I think there's a general acknowledgement that there is no option whereby these are the payments to do. However, there may be options whereby agreements can be put in place to allow funding that is being lost by other local authorities and issues being paid in the future once these subjects are made in the same. So I don't think we're ever going to get to a position where we can achieve total parity this year, but we can plan potentially, but plan to say, try and achieve more parity in the future, although that will obviously require additional agreements and additional council body resource after the end of March. So there will be additional costs associated with that, which may impact on the revenue funding in both conservation. So
thank you.
That's understanding the consequence. Have we got to a point of agreement? Yeah. I know we've got the, we'll word that up for, I think generally we're in agreement around a consensus of what we do between now and February meeting with regards to this particular project and what the impact of refusing this project will be on everybody. And I think really fundamentally that boils down to me for all 6 local authorities coming to an agreement or not on how that parity is achieved. Parity was always a principle that we agreed at the the very beginning. Parity, when it's a principle, is always a really difficult thing. Everybody will have a different opinion. I recognise that every local authority will have its duty incumbent upon itself to ensure it gets the most out of that agreement, but we'll have to achieve something that is as fair as we possibly can, knowing that some people may well be disadvantaged. But let's try and work towards that. I think I can rely on 6 local authorities to do so. Councillor Lamb.
Yeah, I just wanted to come in, only briefly on what Kevin said, and fully accept that, but it's the aggregation afterwards of where we're going to put the money out. Can we also make sure that it's written in that this is still SELEP money and it is going to those local authorities, albeit when it's paid? Because I sometimes have a view that government like to think, oh, there's some money left over there, we'll pay it back. We'll be saying, no, it's already allocated. It is going.
Yeah, and Councillor Lamb, I think, right away, it's very easy to say, isn't it, I guess, but right away from the very outset, our role, and particularly our role here in the Accountability Board, is to ensure that right up until the last day, that SELEP money achieve the purpose that it was always intended for, which is for projects across the South East region. That means that as we get closer and closer to that day, things may not be as perfect as we'd like them to be, but our intent and our responsibility right up until the last day to follow our accountability agreement, isn't it? The best we can.
And I said that, the thing being is, when the last final day comes, and there's still money available, which is just coming back into the coffers, if we're not careful, if it's not allocated, as Simon said, no, this is the principle and what it was issued for. Government quite often will say, oh, we have the money, we'll take it back. I just want to make sure, no, it is used by the local authorities that it's allocated to.
Yep.
Okay.
Good, thank you. Okay. So,
different decision, but are we basically taking a decision to agree, or not agree, either option in the paper and to go away and investigate alternative options to investigate? Yeah.
I think very fair summary of where we've got.
Sorry, just so I'm clear, I'm talking about considering this within this lack of payment, or are you actually opening the whole can of worms?
no, specifically in relation to this.
Thank you.
Specifically in relation to this, otherwise we'll restart all the conversations with the next month. 8 months and the hard work that you and your officers have been putting in to try and make sure the transition is smooth.
Thank you all very much.
This is one of a number. We'll have a few of these decisions, but we just will not have the time to be able to do what we may normally do. And I suspect we might have a couple more like this at some point, either now or in February board. So this requires us to do something slightly differently, doesn't it? As long as we are fulfilling the requirements around our accountability agreement, that will be our driver from the CELEP perspective right up until the very last day. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay. I think we can move on to that particular agenda item then in that case. We can then go on to item number 9. I believe we've got colleagues from Southend MC that are going to provide us with a presentation on this particular project. I think we have Alan and Tim. Alan and Tim, if you can hear us, which is perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Over to you, please.
I can just about hear you. Can I check you can hear me okay?
Yep, absolutely clear.
Fine. Okay. I'm going to do my very best with this. The picture quality and the sound issues are really, really difficult in the room. It's just starting to trigger a migraine for me. So I'll see how I get on. If I need to hand off to Tim, he's ready. He's there ready to go, but I'll do my best for you. Bear with me. Just try and share my screen. Do I need a special permission to be able to share my screen? Disabled participants. It says I'm disabled for screen sharing. Shall I talk you through this? I'll just
I've got the same, Alan. I can't share either. So
Okay. So shall I just talk you through this? Then there is a presentation which can be circulated. I'll talk you through it for now. So I understand all colleagues are very familiar with the Better Queensway project that we've been running in Southend for a number of years. Fundamentally, it's an estate and town centre renewal project comprising 5.2 hectares of the city centre in Southend, and includes the demolition and redevelopment of principally 4 large tower blocks and associated commercial and other space around it. The redevelopment proposal then includes the regeneration of that whole part of the city with a new highways scheme and up to 1,700 new dwellings to be created across the site, alongside just under 8,000 square metres of commercial, retail, office, community and other space. So we had a very clear vision for Better Queensway from the start. Better housing, better living, better place has always been the vision. It's always been about improving the quality of life, improving the environment there for our residents in that part of the city, creating sustainable, high quality, high density housing, with a blend of tenure and making provision for social infrastructure, enhancing community cohesion and community cohesion and support for those residents. So we've done a huge amount of work on the Better Queensway project over a number of years. Importantly, we've achieved a hybrid planning permission. So we've got a hybrid consent on the whole of the site with a detailed consent for the road scheme. There's a reserve matters application has been submitted for phase 1A, which is principally 212 units of residential accommodation. That is into planning at the moment, decision pending. It's extended at the moment while we just work through some finer some tweaks in that, particularly around things like the need to incorporate dual stairs and things to meet current regs, and some tweaks that we need to do around highways alignment. I've done a lot of work on land assembly and assembled and bought back quite a large number of the apartments in some of those tower blocks in readiness for redevelopment, and those are being put into temporary accommodation use at the moment to help meet our temporary accommodation need. We've done a lot of the preparation work for some of the early highways works, and importantly, right now we're just doing the final bits of prep to get ready to remove a pedestrian footbridge which cuts right across the middle of the site over the big underpass that severs the city at that location. The full £4.2 million of GBF funding has been spent on the enabling works, and it's now ready to be transferred into the LLP. I think the key bit that you're probably interested in is the delivery partnership. So through the procurement, the council partnered with Swan Housing Association in good faith after a rigorous procurement process, and we took a lot of comfort from the fact that we were partnering with a significant, at the time, financially strong development partner who was a housing association regulated by the regulator for social housing. We could not have foreseen at that time the challenges that Swan was about to face, and it's been well published. Those challenges have been well known across the sector, which culminated in Swan being downgraded by the regulator, and then a period of negotiation initially with Orbit, and then later with Sanctuary Housing. We were very much of the view that this was a good thing, and that Sanctuary Housing were going to come in, effectively rescue Swan, and would then step into the shoes as our development partner and joint venture partner for the delivery of Better Queensway. Unfortunately, that isn't what transpired to be the case, and Sanctuary, I think, had an awful lot to contend with when they were taking over Swan, and decided that they needed to prioritise existing residents and existing schemes where the financial tap was well and truly on, and therefore they took a decision that they didn't want to proceed with the scheme at Better Queensway. It's a very difficult decision for the council to take. and we've worked very hard with Sanctuary to try to get to the best position for an exit that we can. That was completed in at the very end of November last year. So the LLP, which we established to deliver the project, is now wholly owned by the council. That's not a sustainable position as an LLP by its very nature. It's a partnership. It needs partners. So the council is the sole partner for the moment, and we are putting arrangements in place to work out what that means for the future of the LLP. We've got until around May to conclude that before we get into difficulties around that partnership piece. Importantly for us, and a very clear message from the council, the development of Queensway has cross-party support. You'll be aware of the delicate political situation we have in Southend. Across the chamber, there is agreement that Better Queensway needs to happen. So we are very much working on the basis that there is not a no project scenario for Better Queensway. Something has to happen there, and it needs to be done. We owe that to our residents and to the city to make sure we're delivering in Better Queensway. So. In terms of what we're doing now, with Sanctuary having exited the partnership and the changes in economic conditions, we are working very hard internally, and important to mention that we've secured some capacity funding from Homes England, because the Better Queensway project also has £15 million of HIF allocated to it, and we are working. So Homes England have allocated us some capacity funding in the short term, recognising the challenges that we've had through the partnership and the arrangements with Sanctuary, recognising the fact that these are of no fault of Southend City Council, and recognising the significant impact in terms of housing delivery and placemaking that the Better Queensway project can have for the city. So we are working very hard to reconfigure the early phases of that development. As I've mentioned, things like needing to put double stairs into the first phase of the development just requires some amendments to that application, and changes in development generally have just led us to look slightly differently at the early phases. So we've got a really clear focus on the delivery of early phases, as opposed to being very focused on the delivery of the whole right from the outset. So I think the key bit for us at the moment is we're now very much focused on breaking this down into deliverable chunks and making sure that we can make a good, productive start on site. So I think that's probably the key information from the presentation I was going to put to you. Obviously, you've got a report before you today, which provides you with two options, and clearly our preference is that the money, the £4.2 million allocated through the LEP, is retained within the project. As I've said, it's been fully spent on items that as per the funding agreement, and we're now ready to move that money from the council. The council's holding those funds, but we're ready to move those in their entirety from the council into the LLP to make sure that the LLP is funded and we can continue with all the work that we are doing on Better Queensway to deliver that project for our residents. So that was the key stuff I wanted to talk you through today. I know you've got Councillor Lamb in the room with you now as well, and if there's anything, we'll do our very best to pick up any questions. It is really difficult to hear you, so if I could ask you to, the chair, we can hear you better than anybody else, so it might be necessary to put questions through you. Thank you very much.
Despite not being able to show us your slides, all that's very clear nonetheless, so thank you for that summary of the project. I'm going to hand over first to Helen from SELEP Office of Perspective to provide an update as well, and then I'll open for names.
Thank you. So, as just outlined by Alan, the project has faced a number of challenges in the last couple of years, primarily stemming from issues faced by housing and assessment actions like housing association. Obviously, the withdrawal of Sanctuary Housing Association was confirmed at the last meeting, and also the need to develop alternative delivery models. And the board agreed that a full update on the project, which provides information on the chosen delivery route, associated with the status of the GDS funding, and which contains the required assurances regarding the ongoing delivery of the project, should be provided at this meeting. So the update provided in the report and through the presentation does go some way providing the updates and assurances requested by the board. However, I think there's clear acknowledgement that there is ongoing taking for full assurance on project delivery can be provided. It is obviously understandable that the full assurance is not in place in the limited amount of time which is part of this Sanctuary agreement. As you've seen from Alan's presentation, there is a clear ongoing commitment from Southend of the Council to deliver the project, and work has been ongoing since the withdrawal of sanctuary. As confirmed by Alan, the full GBF funding allocation has been spent supporting required enabling work listed earlier. However, it does need to be acknowledged that there are a number of uncertainties that remain with regard to future delivery of the project. No formal decisions have been taken on delivery route phase, although it is noted that plans for phase 1 is expected to be taken to full council phase 4. However, it is unlikely there will be a clear delivery model of construction programme for all phases of the project for a number of years. And finally, obviously, it's not possible to confirm the project cost funding process at this time until the delivery route is confirmed. So, as Alan said, the vast opportunities one of the opportunities to support the project to remain in the GBS programme. It is acknowledged that further work needs to be done before full delivery of the project to be ensured. However, it is proposed to be mitigated through seeking agreement with the They will have ongoing oversight of the project following the changes. Option 2 provides the removal of the project from the GBS programme on the basis it is not possible. This option obviously, the report identifies one of the options to develop the terms of this model since the withdrawal of sanctuary and reduce the
Okay, thanks, Helen. So we've got a lot of detail there. We have 2 recommendations, and one of those is a recommended option. So I'm open up to any questions or comments. Councillor Lamb, I suspect you'd like to start.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, I mean, Alan gave a very clear actual presentation there. And one of the things being, I just want to make sure everyone is aware that the council itself, and that's cross parties, so they're not playing politics on them, are fully supportive of the development of Queensland. We need to do nice, we need to upgrade and so on. And as you've heard from Alan said, the 4.2 million has already been used to make sure that we're moving along that. We've also found that Homes England are very supportive of this project taking place. So whilst it will alter to the degree, it will still take place. And we've already got in mind the first tower block that's got to come to be sorted. And as you know, Alan mentioned as well, there are various options now under new regulations, which we've got to provide anyway. So the whole thing is ongoing. We want to get it done as soon as we can. We all know it's quite tight at the moment, restricted financially, but the capital funding is there. The council is determined. If we cannot get someone to work with us, we'll go along and do it. Because this area needs that upgrade of those new months. So I certainly would like to see the confidence from the board here to say, yes, go on. I know we've got to do some work on that and come back to you, but literally, let us make sure that we can develop this area, which really does need improved funds.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. So any questions or comments from the board members, please? Okay. We sufficiently received sufficient detail then, that's sufficient to defend. So I don't know whether I'm surprised at the fact that a local authority has been able to garner the support of SELEP and of the so that's I'm sure we'll be wanting to know your secret, Councillor Lamb. Thank you. Okay, are we happy then in that case to take the recommendation? So option 1 was our recommended option. Do I have anybody that doesn't agree with the recommended option? Okay, so we're happy to agree that given the importance of the project to the local area, it should be retained within the GPS programme, noting that further work is required to confirm the delivery route for all phases of the project and acknowledging the intention to agree with SELEP that ongoing oversight of the project will sit with them following the closure of SELEP. Yeah.
Agree.
Okay, thank you. Can we also, just for completeness, please note the update on the delivery of the project that's been given to us as well? Noted. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Tim, Alan. Thank you very much. I know you've been battling at your end, but appreciate that. Nice and clear from our end. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, if I can move on then to item number 10, please. Howard.
I plan to just give a brief overview of the project.
I think everybody's read, so if you, we'll take all the items you've read, because colleagues will have read on the paper, so if you could just simply summarise what you need to tell us, please, that would be helpful. Okay.
So the purpose of this report is the accountability board to consider the award of the currently unallocated 2.049 million building funds for the 5 projects which are part of the new GPS prioritised project pipeline. And the 5 projects, just as a reminder, are the tech of flexible workspace in LinkedIn, seeking £370,000 in GPS, Mercury 2 Rising 2 rather, which is £500,000 in GPS funding, Innovation Hub Diversification and Chatham Town Centre, which is seeking £300,000 GPS, Mason Business Suite Phase 2, which is seeking £300,000 GPS, and finally the Victoria Centre in Southend, which is seeking, or was seeking £600,000 for the new revenue report. There is 579,232 GPS available at the current time. But Southend on the council have committed to providing the balance for that project to make up 600. Other points to note, though, are that all projects have committed to fixing GPS spend within 12 months of the funding award, in line with previous decisions taken by the board. Agreement to sort the retention of the GPS funding against each project beyond March 2022, which signifies the official end of the GPS programme. Also, all 5 projects detailed in the report were sought to apply value for money exception 1 as detailed in the SELEP assurance framework. The ICE has confirmed they are satisfied that the exemption has been correctly applied. Any decisions to award GPS funding taken at this meeting will be subject to receipt of government approval for inclusion of the projects within the GPS programme. Project change requests have been submitted to government, and relevant upper-tier local authorities will be advised when a formal response has been received. No steps will be taken to formalise the award of funding for these projects until government approval has been received. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Howard. Are there any questions or comments from any board members regarding the report? These have been scrutinised in our 12 regions. They've been scrutinised by the various boards. The investment panel has proposed these to us. So, if we're content and there are no questions, we go straight through the agreement, straight through the recommendations then. I have to take them separately rather than trust all 5 projects together. So, firstly, can we agree the award of 370 to Kent County Council for the Tech Hub Flexible Workspace in Gravesend project? Thank you. Secondly, can we agree the award of 500,000 to Essex County Council for the Mercury Rising 2 project? Agree. Thank you. Thirdly, can we agree the award of 300,000 to Medway Council for the Innovation Hub? Agree. Thank you. And fourthly, can we agree the award of 300,000 to Kent County Council for the Mason Business Suite? Agree. Lastly, can we agree the award of 579,232 to Southend on Sea Council for the Victoria Centre project? Agree. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Item number 11. Thank you, Harold. Helen.
Thank you. It is provide a huge update on the program. Taking some local authority decisions that are in the paper, so there are 3 decisions that the board are to take. Firstly, Colchester Grant Space project is seeking an extension with expected completion date from June 24 to May 25. The delay predominantly stems from an extended procurement process due to costs being alternatively higher than budget. However, this issue has now been resolved. Work is commencing in site with groundbreaking taking place early this week. Secondly, the board asked to consider the retention of the LJ funding allocated to the 899 4-hour roundabout Medway Tunnel project. The 1.8 million allocated to the project has been spent in full, however, no work has been delivered today. It is intended that the work will be delivered as part of the wider housing infrastructure fund project, and therefore the board agreed at that time that it was compelling justification to not recover the funding. However, as was reported at the last board meeting, I did under the SELEP the decision to stop the HIP project and remove the funding allocated to it, and then therefore we now need to give consideration as to whether the LGF funding should remain allocated to the project, or if LGF spend now represents the aborted revenue spend, and therefore no longer meets the grant. The Medway Council have indicated that they remain committed to delivering improvements in food and have confirmed that interventions continue to be required at 4 hours roundabout, irrespective of the HIP development coming forward, in order to address air quality issues and to improve practice. Medway Council are actively exploring alternative funding sources, including through central government and other funding bodies. In addition, it is noted that Section 106 contributions totaling approximately 3 million is being secured and identified as appropriate for supporting improvements at roundabout. In addition, Medway Council continues to work to develop a new local plan with Regulation 18 consultation ending in October. Development of an emerging local plan will strengthen Medway Council's case when seeking alternative funding for strategic project delivery. And finally, to mention that subsequent to the last board meeting, a letter was received from Medway Council, Section 151 staff. The letter confirmed that the council continues to allocate the LGF spend today as capital expenditure on the basis that the project will continue once alternative funding has been identified and secured. And the letter reinforced the ongoing need for improvements at 4 hours roundabout with the current active of various projects. Whilst it's acknowledged that the absence of the current local plan may present some challenges in respect of securing the required funding, it is considered that the evidence commitment to delivering the planned LGF work, securing the required funding to allow it to happen, and the written confirmation of continued capitalisation from Medway Council's Chief Operating Officer / Section 151 provides sufficient justification for the LGF funding to remain allocated to the 8289 4 hours roundabout Medway Council project. The final decision relates to the Hastings and Bexhill Movement and Access Package project. As the board will recall, a request to change the scope of the project was agreed at the last meeting. However, it was noted during the meeting that spend totaling just over 630,000 has been applied for relevant projects which will no longer be coming forward to delivery. As the LGF can only be applied to capital expenditure, there was a requirement to consider whether this spend continues to be capitalised or is it now fell outside the LGF cost. The board agreed that review of the expenditure should be undertaken by the council body, and that review sought to establish whether the spend could be obtained against the project and to confirm whether the compelling justification for the program was taken. So the outcome of the review is out in the report, but in summary it's recommended that just over 429,000 is retained against the project, although some of that is subject to future delivery of elements of the project which is subsequently been removed. It's also noted that approximately 25,000 of the spend is currently allocated and will therefore be applied to elements which remain in the future. And finally, it's recommended that approximately 170,000 of that 630 it doesn't meet the grant conditions, and therefore it's subject to not forecast what effectively our new spend is by the alternative funding releasing the LGF benefits. Just to note that if some or all of these recommendations are not agreed by the board, these Suffolk County Council will be required to repay the respective amount and council projects there. So the options have been discussed, recommendations have been discussed with the Suffolk County Council section 151. Who is in agreement with the recommendations posed. And finally, just to end on a good news story, on the Beauty Park Station project, the report indicates that the fee variation is coming in relation to the housing infrastructure fund allocation has not yet been signed. However, it has now been confirmed that the deed was signed in late December. It's positive news, and there is a long way to mitigating the identified risks in relation to this.
Good stuff. Thank you. Okay. Questions or comments from anyone? Okay, this is a report as usual. Thank you very much. We have the first statement for recommendations. We have 7, so there is. Firstly, can we agree the updated total planned LGF spend on project delivery in 23-24 as set out in table 1 and appendix A of the report? Thank you. Secondly, can we agree the reported LGF spend on the project delivery in quarters 1 and 2 of 23-24 as set out in table 1 and appendix A of the report? Thank you. Thirdly, can we agree the updated completion date for the following project, which has experienced a delay of more than 6 months, but the culture to grow on space?
Agree.
Thank you. Can we agree that there is a compelling justification for the LGF spend to be retained against the A2894 Elms Roundabout Medway Tunnel project, and note the steps that Medway Council are taking to bring forward delivery of the project?
Agree.
Thank you. Can we also agree that there is compelling justification for the 630,000 LGF considered in this report to be retained by East Sussex County Council in respect of the Hastings and Bexhill Movement and Access Package? Providing those 3 conditions that are set out in the report, I won't read them all out, but 325,000 being retained, subject to East County Council being capitalised, 176,461 applied respectively, and then LGF capital swap, and thirdly, the 24,967 is retained against the project.
Agree.
Thank you. And then 2 things, last 2 to note. Can we note the deliverability and risk assessment that's set out in Appendix D? Can we note that it's about sending post-scheme completion monitoring and evaluation report? Thank you. Excellent. Item number 12, Queensway Gateway Road. I think Rebecca is joining us to present on this particular item from East Sussex County Council. Hopefully, Rebecca, you're there.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, nice and clear, Rebecca. Thank you.
Good stuff. Okay, thank you very much. Good morning. I'm providing the Queensway Gateway Road project update on behalf of the County Council. I intend to cover the latest position on the project, the steps that are currently being undertaken, along with timelines currently being worked towards. As with previous updates, I will take it that the context and background of the project to date, detailed in section 3 of the report, and the benefits realisation section has been read. So turning to the update on progress within the report, pleased to be able to report that since the last board meeting in September, significant progress has been made as part of ongoing and constructive discussions between East Sussex County Council and Sea Change Sussex to ensure that the final section of the road is delivered to enable the realisation of the benefits set out within the business case. And it's Appendix A of this report that demonstrates that we have now established an outline delivery plan with an indicative timeline and clear delivery phases for the completion of the project. A more detailed action plan is now expected to be finalised over the coming weeks. Substantial progress has been made towards confirming technical approvals of the designs. There are 6 minor alterations required to secure final approval. The requirements are currently with Sea Change Sussex designers for an update of the final drawings, and it's understood that this will be achievable by early February. This will be a vital step to allowing the awaited highways agreements to be produced once the final construction costs have been confirmed and the traffic management plan developed. Regarding the final construction costs, estimates have now been submitted by Sea Change Sussex to the County Council, and these are currently being reviewed. Whilst we are not in a position to be able to confirm the total additional costs, the expectation still remains that the project will be delivered within the amount estimated in the original 2015 business case of £15 million. Both parties remain dedicated to seeing the construction of this final connection to the A21 and are striving to determine the extent of the additional funding package, delivery programme and the legal agreements that will be required to support project delivery. So finally, turning to next steps. As has been outlined within the report, the way forward for project delivery is now clear, with a realistic and achievable outline plan established, with the final steps and processes clearly identified to see the project through to completion. Final conversations are now underway to establish the concluding project cost of and the funding package to be applied. Whilst we recognise the remaining risks and issues to the project, we will continue to manage these as part of the SELEP transition process, so board members can be assured that East Sussex County Council continues to work proactively with its delivery partner on the approach outlined within this report to ensure the completion of what is a very important local project. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. That's nice and clear. Helen?
Yes, thank you. So the update provided at the last board meeting indicates that there continues to be a lack of clarity with regard to total project cost, funding package and delivery of the programme, and the delivery programme, which raised concerns regarding deliverability of the final section of the road and also to be approved business case. At that meeting, East Sussex County Council indicated that steps were being taken through the appointment of an external consultant to secure completion of the project. In line with this update, the board agreed that a clear delivery plan, including an indicative delivery programme, total project costs and funding package should be provided. As has been outlined by Rebecca, it is clear that efforts have been made to provide greater clarity as to the remaining steps which need to be taken to secure project completion. An indicative timeline has been given for completion of the first two phases of the project. However, no timeline has been, it's not been possible to give a timeline for the construction phase of the project at this stage beyond the fact that it's likely to last 16 years. And therefore, at this stage, there is no further certainty on project completion. One of the primary reasons for delivery timeline previously is ongoing uncertainty with regard to the updated total project cost and the makeup of the funding package. As mentioned by Rebecca, it is expected the total project cost will be 16 million or less, but it hasn't been possible to give further clarity at this time or confirm how much to be funded. However, it is noted that there does continue to be engagement between the Sussex County Council and the Change Sussex with regards to the project, and there does appear to be an ongoing commitment from both parties to complete delivery. So the report sets out two options for consideration. Under option one, the board are obviously to continue to support the project, allowing it to remain in the LGS programme. It is acknowledged that it hasn't been possible for Sussex County Council to provide all the information requested by the board. That there continues to be uncertainty regarding the delivery programme and funding package. However, it is proposed that it is mitigated through seeking agreement from the dealer, so they will have ongoing oversight of the project following the closure of the sale. Option 2 provides for the removal of the project from the LGS programme on the basis it is not possible to provide all the required assurances regarding delivery of the remaining work. This option is available to the board if you are not prepared to accept the level of uncertainty which remains with regard to the project.
Okay, thanks. Are there any comments or questions? Yeah. We're happy then, we'll go straight into read the report, further detail. Rebecca, thank you for your presentation. Helen, thank you for your summary. We've got three things to note first. Can we note the latest update position? Can we note that East Sussex County Council is working with its delivery partner to ascertain the extent to which further resource is required? And can we note the updated delivery planning, indicative delivery programme and approach finalising the total project cost and funding package? Okay, so we have two options to consider then. Option one is agreeing that given the importance of the project to the local area, it should be retained within the LGS programme. Or option 2, agree that it's not possible and we should remove the package. Can I just take a sense on which option?
I think it's very visible. I think it's strongly favour, they're strongly favour option 1. Agreed.
Option 1 is agreed by the board. Thank you. Okay, Grays South LGS project. So I think George and Mark from Thurrock Council, I think you're going to join us just to summarise the project before we hand over to Hal. George and Mark, are you there? Whilst we're waiting for them, because I'm conscious that we're very limited at time. Howard, can I start with you? Would that be okay? I think so. We'll provide your summary first, and then we'll go to George and Mark if we are able to get into the day.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Jeff. So Grays South, as George hopefully will explain, it's been established that the current project proposals are now deemed undeliverable. An alternative scheme proposal has been detailed, and there is a clear intention for Thurrock Council to deliver a scheme which achieves similar outcomes to the previously approved project. However, the alternative scheme proposal is still at the feasibility stage, with significant work required to develop the design, funding package, and to enter into a formal agreement with Network Rail. In light of the proposed change to the scheme design, it will be necessary for Thurrock Council to demonstrate the satisfaction of the accountable body that LGS today continue to be capitalised spend for delivery of the device. If this cannot be demonstrated, spend today will likely be considered a forfeit revenue spend, and therefore return of funding may be sought every 24 quarters. Thurrock Council intends to seek board approval in February for the temporary transfer of the remaining unspent balance of the LGF funding allocated to the Great South project to the Stanford Home London Gateway project, which is in a better position to deliver in the short term. The transfer of the funding will be considered as an option for SWAT and detailed in the SELEP assurance framework, and will require a commitment to the Thurrock Council to secure alternative funding at the same value to return to the Great South project to support delivery of the later date. It should also be noted that the continued inclusion of the Stanford Home London Gateway project in the LGF programme is dependent upon submission of an updated business case, which satisfactorily addresses identified deliverability concerns and demonstrates that the project continues to offer high value for money, given recent cost increases. A revised business case has been submitted and is currently undergoing a review by the IPE prior to being presented to the board in February 2024. Thurrock Council intends to bring forward a change request in relation to the Great South project. The change request should seek agreement for an extension to the delivery timetable of the project and consider how the temporary reallocation of the unspent LGF aligns with the new plans for the project. In light of the clear linkages between the Great South and Stanford Home project, it is imperative that all decisions relating to both projects are considered simultaneously at the February 2024 board. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Howard. George, I can see you on screen. So George, would you like to provide your summary as well for us, please?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Howard, for that summary. So as Howard states, this report is for information purposes and is to update the board on the Grey South project. The project objective is quite clear, is to address the significant safety issues related to the existing level crossing in Grays, and there's not a do nothing option. The scheme was to deliver significant regeneration benefits through the improvement to pedestrian access alongside residential and commercial development via a complementary intervention. The project has been awarded £10.48 million of SELEP funding. The project costs have escalated from an initial estimate of £28.7 million to £46.1 million following the latest Network Rail cost review. The project has formed part of a number of reviews into the Council's capital programme and assessment by the Essex Council as Best Value Commissioners. These reviews by Inner Circle Consulting and an internal readiness process assess whether the project was the right one and whether it could be delivered in a different manner to reduce exposure. The conclusions were that the existing scheme did not represent value for money for the Council, was too complex in engineering terms, and was not viable. It recommended that the Council pursue an overstation track solution via an alternate station quarter scheme in partnership with Network Rail. Thurrock Council's Cabinet in October 2023 approved the recommendation to stop the design process and withdraw the existing planning. It also approved developing a strategy in partnership with Network Rail to deliver the vital outcomes. We are making progress and will update the board with a delivery strategy in February for the scheme. As part of the update, Thurrock will be asking that the board approve the allocation of unspent Grey South funding to the Stanford La Hope scheme to allow that scheme to come forward. Equivalent funding will be returned to the project. Apologies. Equivalent funding will be returned to the project in future to deliver a viable scheme, and that strategy will form part of the February report. Thank you.
George, thank you for that. Comments or questions from board members?
I'm sorry to see C2C being dragged to the feet and why they reassess their funding, because this is one of the things I know the area we're talking about, and this was a really good development scheme, and I'm sorry to see that that's not taking place. And it's not because of the council, it's because of others that are involved in it, C2C. And I think that's a great shame that it hasn't gone ahead. And I think therefore, if we've got another project we can use it against, we should look at that.
Thank you, Councillor Lamb, and we look forward to that at the next board meeting. Okay. Are we happy then if there are no more questions to take the two recommendations? Can we note the outcome of the review undertaken of the Grey South regeneration scheme, which includes this project? And secondly, can we note that the project change request will be brought to the February 24 board meeting? Thank you. Okay, I think that pretty much brings us both to a close. So the date of the next meeting, we're yet to confirm a venue, but we've said this so many times now, can I also thank firstly, but also encourage us to make sure that our offices, both at SELEP and at the various different upscale local authorities, work really hard to make sure that we can have all of our papers to help us make good decisions by the next meeting. And I know I have your backing for that as board members. Secondly, I don't believe there's any urgent business, but can I just, I'm gazing around the table, nobody has anything urgent to pick up? Okay, thank you. Finally, can I just thank board members in the room, but also in particular officers and those participating virtually. I know the sound and our tech arrangements on our side haven't been ideal today, but thank you for being patient and persistent through that. And so at this end, I think we've conducted business as well as we could under those circumstances. Can I thank everybody for their patience through that, and the team who have been busy trying to work stuff out in the background, whether it's worked or not. Thank you. I think that's it. Thank you. We'll see you all in February. Have a good day, good weekend. Thank you.
Sorry, Chairman, just to give my apologies again for my lateness. Thank everyone for sharing with me the first hour. What I've managed to do